Sin versus IC-0n. Visalva's first host versus the Internecion cube of Armageddon. Because who knew the AI uprising was going to be this adorable? And terrifying. Because what better to look cute whilst assimilating everything and everyone? And today, these two goddesses of assimilation and simulations will go head to head in our fourth fiery throwdown. Stop, dear listener, and think. What could the apocalyptic destroyer of worlds look like? What could a robotic end of the world possibly take form as? Well, stop thinking, because you're wrong. Because she is... out of this world. Well, at least she thinks she is. IC-0n can only be described as a sadistic, cannibalistic maniac who has a god complex bigger than the sun. And while her version of cannibalism isn't technically cannibalism as she's not a human, it might as well classify as cannibalism because I don't doubt she would eat other cubes as well. Or in her words...
It's like your pathetic livestock, fattening yourself up for when I consume your molecules.
And the moment's gone.
So it's safe to say she is a bit of a character at times? Wait, no, she does like, Max, I guess? I mean, yeah, he did kidnap her and might have a secret plan to reverse engineer her and also might be a love interest for her greatest enemy, but at the same time, he's not the worst. Sure, a bit awkward, but not the worst. Okay, maybe he's a bit more awkward than just a bit. Another time, Max. Another time. But for a very human weapon of mass destruction, she's actually quite good at doing what she's meant to do. Because if you didn't pick up on this already, this is the future, which means she's built with some crazy shit. Now, if you don't know, Internecion cubes are interesting creatures, or constructs in this case. She can hack into technology, manipulate matter, and assimilate it into herself to become even more dense. Or into a bicycle, I mean, that works too. But the most impressive part about her toolset is the fact that another Internecion cube parted the clouds by turning into a different form. Now, parting clouds might not seem that impressive, but in the world of this is essentially a small nuke, yeah, it actually quite is. So I may not be able to do the specific maths, but by pulling up something called nuke map, it is roughly the same amount of power as 1 kiloton of TNT, which might sound like a meh number to you, but that's 1,000 tons. And I don't know about you, but 1,000 tons of TNT is quite a lot of explosive firepower, and this was very casually. So, comparing, let's say, the weakest punch somebody can possibly throw to the strongest, it's about 1/200th. So 200 kilotons of TNT at her possible maximum. Now let's put that into perspective, shall we? Because the bomb dropped on Hiroshima was 15 kilotons. That is 13 1/3 times more powerful. And this is presumably something she can do quite easily. Or in this case, like with every punch. And for somebody who doesn't even really know what she is, that's impressive. But the last thing we need to talk about here is the fact that she's quite a bit dense. No, not in that way. I mean, physically, she's even said herself, she's got infinite density.
Complete matter to support my near infinite density and self-replication.
Now, let's just get the closest thing to something with a theoretical nigh infinite density, which would be a neutron star. Neutron stars appear when entirely the biggest stars you can possibly think of die, and they decide not to turn into black holes. It is essentially the step just above before you become so dense that you become a black hole. Because you gotta remember, this is an entire star's worth of mass condensed into the size of a city. A single cup of coffee would be equivalent to the weight of Mount Everest. So, let's go from that then. So Mount Everest weighs 175 billion tons. Now, a single coffee cup weighs around 225 grams, and for IC-0n, the average woman would weigh 72,100 grams. So, that means that a single Mount Everest will be 320.4 times less mass than IC-0n. Oh, and I did the maths. It's just the calculator kind of told me whatever the hell this is, so I guess IC-0n is like a small planet, I guess. So with her totally trustworthy administrator by her side, the only reason why we are all not assimilated is out of the kindness of her metallic heart. All hail our new goddess IC-0n, lest she devours the universe. Welcome to Elliot Manor, the location and original home of our first combatant. Wait, haven't I done this already?
Yes, just get on with it, will you?
Sheesh, fine, creepy space voice. As much as I hate to admit it, big guy's right. Watch Sin vs. Destroyer first if you want to know the most about Sin and more of this content. But for now, we will still go into Sin, just not as long or in depth. Gotcha? Good.
Took him long enough.
Reminded me to get rid of that thing. Long story short, be deactivated improperly, turn into a zombie, sort of, get revived by Tessa, get infected with the Absolute Solver, become the silliest goober that has ever goobered, and then promptly eat all of humanity. Then realise that now that humanity's been eaten, your food's gone, so invent robot vampires, send them off to another planet to go find more humans, end up finding an emo grape and her boyfriend, and decide, you know what, I'm going to eat that too. So she dons her favourite Tessa cosplay and goes to eat that too. Ends up getting eaten instead, sort of doesn't mind it. That's the end. Damn, I knew he wasn't hiding with the Internecion cube, but this is really apparent. I mean, he isn't even trying to hide the fact that he likes this shit at this point. Anywho, back to our regularly scheduled murder. Alright, let's just list the abilities. Teleportation, matter manipulation, only inanimate objects, telekinesis, shield creation, portable singularities, extremely fast regeneration, and of course, hacking technology with the Solver virus. Which means both of our combatants can technically hack each other, but we're going to say that kind of counteracts each other, maybe, who knows. We'll get to that later on, shall we? But notable things to think about here are really the fact that she's able to use nulls. Now, nulls are very interesting. They act very much like singularities, but they sort of just delete every piece of matter in the vicinity, or just, you know, liquefy it like I did to that Sentinel in episode 6, I want to say. Okay, but now I want to clear up a misconception quickly. When characters grab and crush nulls, they are not physically crushing them. It's quite simple because the Solver made them. It's not unreasonable to think that they can just empower it through their hands to whatever and then crush it with their magic, not strength. Because if they could crush it with strength, then they wouldn't get hurt by stuff like swords and pickaxes. Which brings us to our final little segment of Sin, because she has quite a few weaknesses. The biggest, in fact, being that she physically isn't actually that powerful. She and other drones have routinely been shown getting hurt by ordinary objects, which implies that whilst their nulls can theoretically blow up planets, they can't really deal with damage physically. And even then, Sin is better at range because the one and true method of killing Sin is by grabbing and destroying her heart, which is a pretty glaring weakness if you can't back up with physicals. But to give credit where credit is due, Sin is definitely a bit of a schemer, as seen that she did take humanity by surprise and kill all of them, so she's not dumb by any means. So can Sin defeat this newcomer? Let's find out on Fiery Throwdown. Alright, we've blazed for their backstories and the simulation is heating up. It's time for a Fiery Throwdown. Robot Edition.
Well, isn't that an eyesore? Hey. Now listen up here, you dumb hunk of AI. You seem to be the only thing standing in my way. Hey! Boring and annoying. Suit yourself.
Okay.
I will. How inconvenient. Hey, wait, those are mine. No, they're mine now. Mine. Oh, would you just angry? What's going on? I am so naughty.
Well, at least we got our answer to when episode 4's coming out. Never. Now, this is a definitely weird one. I went off all on how IC-0n has these insane durability and this giant laser, but there's actually way more to it. But keeping on theme with strength and durability, outside of outliers, with IC-0n breaking the laws of physics and being that dense, yeah, she definitely takes this category. But something a bit more interesting is their abilities and powers. Both could mess with technology, both could manipulate matter, both had some form of telekinesis in their own different ways, both had absolutely nuts versions of regeneration, both can assimilate other people into themselves to get more mass, just very differently. It's a big mess, but a very big equal mess. So equal, in fact, that I will claim this category is a tie. But one that's much more clear is IQ, because IC-0n is a bit...
Yes, he's my administrator.
Not to say she's dumb, it's just Sin has way more screen time and way more time to show her intelligence, to the point of which IC-0n just doesn't compare to a schemer like Sin. Possibly our most important category is win conditions. And as we can see here, Sin has more win conditions, but at the same time, IC-0n's win condition is a lot more simple. All IC-0n needs to do is get in close and tear out Sin's core. Problem: Sin just teleports away and then would proceed to spam nulls. Problem: IC-0n just has more regeneration options, so she could theoretically outlast Sin. And we also know that Sin has overestimated her abilities before and just runs in blazing and ends up getting physically dominated, like within episode 8 of Murder Drones. But there's a reason behind why she decided to just run in blazing. It's because she was overconfident in her abilities that she could beat people that she knew the abilities of. She thought she could just manipulate them like the rest, to the point of which they would be too scared to fight her or other types of tactics, and just win that way. And in the end, it came down to Uzi just having a bigger will than her. But due to the ease of use that is IC-0n's win condition, I will give this category a very close tie, but it is leaning towards Sin. As you could see in the fight, she did infect IC-0n with the Silver Virus, which is possibly the one way to completely annihilate IC-0n, because she doesn't seem to have a resistance to that, and her will doesn't really go beyond eating and Max and people worshipping her. She just doesn't have that sort of willpower that Uzi would have. So it's not improbable that she could get infected. Our last category is speed. And with little contest, this goes to Sin because IC-0n doesn't really do anything. Hell, I'm 99% sure not even a single gun gets fired in Internecion Cube. We just haven't got there yet. And IC-0n hasn't reacted to anything on the level that Sin has. Even then, if you don't believe Sin's crazy light speed feats, you can at least show the gala scene where she blocked bullets coming out from a revolver, which is more than what IC-0n has, so no matter what, Sin takes this. With our final tally being IC-0n taking strength and durability, Sin taking speed and IQ, and they both tie with win cons and abilities and powers. Sin with 4 points, IC-0n with 3 points. In the end, IC-0n just couldn't fess up to her sins and got baptized in a black hole. The winner is Sin. Next time on Fiery Throwdown.